I appreciate everybody being here. Just quick recap of the weekend. What a great weekend it was, and great. Our fans were amazing. Big shout out to our students. They just really made the atmosphere special. We were fortunate. It was Military Appreciation Weekend. We gave out some game balls. We gave a game ball out to a 4-star general who was a CSU grad, James Dickinson, who really supports us, Colonel Matthew Tillman, who works with our ROTC on campus, and they did such a great job with all the traditions of the game last week. 72 cadets that carried the ball from the border here to Canvas Stadium. Master Chief Sean Pittman, who was a guest of ours for the weekend, that did a great job talking to the team. Our own retired Army Special Forces Green Beret, Jeremy Copeland, who runs our personnel on our team and player programs. And then we gave our leadership game balls. Jeremy Copeland and Jordan Simmons, our strength coach, really work with our leaders. And then our 6 captains who have been fantastic: Henry Blackburn, Jack Howell, Chase Wilson, Torrey Horton, Jacob Gardner, and Braden Fowler Nicolosi. And then we gave one more game ball. We went downtown and presented it to our fans from Lucky Joe's after the game, who are outstanding last weekend. We did a lot of good things in that game. We did some things we need to be better at. I thought our defense was outstanding and holding them down to 10 points. A lot of guys played great, but Dom Jones really showed up. Our corners were really physical in the game, more physical than they've been all year. Elias Larry and Dom Jones really played outstanding, and I was really proud of their performance. But our defense as a whole, holding them down, slowing them down on third down, was really, really well done. Offensively, I think we rushed for 248 yards, over 100 yards more than Wyoming, and we had the ball for almost 35 minutes time possession. Those were 2 huge factors in the game. I thought Braden was outstanding. Braden was really seeing the field. He had a really clear look in his eye, was seeing the field, communicated beautifully on the sideline, and really, really appreciated his performance. And, we're starting to get different performances from different people every week. We had 6 explosive plays from 6 different players offensively. And when you got a guy like Tommy Maher that nobody even knows his name, and he comes and makes a huge play like he made, Dane Olson throwing a touchdown. I mean, we're getting contributions from so many different players. We still got to be better. We weren't as good in special teams. Our drive start average wasn't as good as it has been, and so we need to improve there. So, we've got a lot of work to do still, and we got a lot of room to improve and get better. We move on this week. We play a very good Fresno team. Earlier this summer, Coach Tedford decided to retire, and Coach Skipper took over. Fresno is typically one of the most talented teams we play every year in our conference, and they have athletic players. They have got skilled guys that can run. They got big people that can play and that are physical, and so you really have to be on top of your game whenever you play them, especially when you have to go to their place. Offensively, they're a spread team, really being led by their receivers this year. They've got a couple of good receivers, and Delana and Moss, both of them are highly productive players. And then Mikey Keene's our quarterback. We know Mikey real well, have recruited him over the past. He started his career at Central Florida and transferred to Fresno. He's a kid from Arizona. We're really familiar with him, and he's having a good year. Defensively, they're a 4-2-5 team. They always have good defensive linemen. Devo Bridges is one of their top defensive ends. Really good linebacker in Nomura. And then Lockridge is a really good athletic corner that they have. And so, they have a very, very quality coaching staff. They do things the right way there at Fresno. And it's always a really hard-fought, competitive Mountain West game whenever we play these guys. So really excited to go back on the road, play an important game. I just told our kids today in our meeting, how good do you want to be? It's really what it comes down to. Yeah, we've won 7 games. We qualified for a bowl game. We've won a couple rivalry games, but our goals really were much higher than that. And so we're really focused on our process of how we get better. And we talked about we did a little audit, today with our guys, and I asked a number of questions and asked them, what did you do well last week? What can you do better? And I'm talking about their weekly preparation and their film study and their recovery and getting sleep and practicing with detail. And, there's a number of plays in that game where we can be better, as far as understanding scheme, understanding your assignment, your adjustment versus what the defense is doing, what the offense is doing. Much better. We could play much better on special teams than we did. So big areas of improvement for us, and so we're anxious to go back to work so we can play well on Saturday night.
What do you like about the maturity of your team that it does, while you're 5-0 in conference play, it takes into account? It is not a perfect product, and there are things that you need to do much better.
I just think it's just good for us to remember, and ego is a powerful thing. You start doing things pretty good, and people pat you on the back, and ego tells you to talk when you should shut up and listen, and so. We want to be the team that has humility and that understands that we're playing good because of the way we practice and prepare. It's not because we're special. I think we're like a lot of teams in this league, but we're doing things that we need to do to win, and we're sacrificing for one another. And we got a lot of guys playing nicked up and hurt, and that's learned behavior. That's not something that you naturally do. And they're seeing their leadership do that. I think every one of our captains has been hurt. And, I had a captains meeting last week, and I don't know, 1 or 2 of them played, and the rest of them didn't play, because of injury. So, that's part of it. We're getting great leadership. That's why I really wanted to recognize our captains after the game, because I think they're really keeping this team focused and showing them what's important.
You talked about you wanted to make Canvas Stadium a tough place to play. The flip side of it is you also want to be good on the road, and you have a chance. You go to Fresno and win. You have a winning record on the road. Why is this team geared to perform on the road for you?
I think we're built for it. Number one, somebody told me it was going to rain Saturday in Fresno, and I started smiling. I hope it does rain, But no, I think we're built for it. The way that we've prepared, we've really tried to prepare our defense for everything that it's going to encounter in a season, and the physicality, being able to play the run. We did an excellent job of playing the run and holding their run stats down, but we also did a good job of limiting big plays defensively, and they only had 2 explosives, and we had 6. And so that's really important, but also our ability to be able to run the football with multiple backs and different people. When you can mix in a Caleb Goody on a reverse, that helps your running game. And so all those things really go into play with that, and to be able to play well on special teams. Those are 3 consistent areas that allow you to play well on the road. And so we're doing a much better job. If you compare us to a year ago, in taking care of the football. The turnovers have been we've done a good job of cutting down on those, and we have to continue to do it. This is another week this week, so all those factors really play into it. And we gotta make teams have a hard day when we play them. And we've been doing that, and we have to do it again. We got to do the best we can to have their quarterback and their receivers not have a good day against us. And And so, and we've got to continue to strive to do the things we've been doing well to win.
You've talked a lot about Braden's kind of evolution over the course of the season. Obviously, kind of a big change in what you've asked him to do this year. What have you been most impressed with over the last couple months?
I think he's really understanding that there's different ways you can win. And, I go back, some of my heroes, our kids don't even know, like I love Parcells and Parcells, he was like, I don't want a superstar quarterback. I want a guy that wins. And the most important stat for a quarterback is wins and losses. And so it's his job to put the team in position to win. And Braden's been doing that. And so I'm really proud of him for that. That has been an education. He didn't always understand that, you could win games without throwing for 350 yards a game. So it's just for a guy like me that's been in a lot of different situations, they're just plays, whether we run it or whether we throw it, it's whatever it takes for us to win. And I think our kids have learned that there's different ways to skin a cat, and we have to do the things that are appropriate for us to win the game that week, and we'll continue to do that.
You talked about kind of the ego and not letting natural ego take over. Is there some of that? 20-year-old kid.
Yep.
It's easy to look at the yardage and everything from a year ago. So
Yep.
I want that. And
Yep.
Kind of sacrifice and say, well, the wins are better.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I don't think any of these stats stand alone. I really don't. I think there's a lot of correlation between different stats. Look at Braden's turnovers. Completely different than a year ago. And so, and that's affecting our games. Our games we're in the mix in games that we weren't in the mix a year ago. And so, and the time of possession, it changes. We almost had the ball 10 minutes more than Wyoming, and that makes a difference. And it helps our defense. And so, I'm not a believer in one single stat makes a difference between winning and losing, but the more that you can get in your favor, the more it tilts in your favor. And a lot of these teams that we've played have played a lot of high-scoring games, and then they play us and they're not. And it's part of the style that we're playing, and they have to play when they play us, and we have to continue that.
At what point did you kind of decide that you wanted to almost like reinvent the offense? Talking to the offensive line, they say
it's been a process. And I've said this before. I'm a big believer that every spring you look at your team and you look at the strengths and weaknesses of how you think you can hang your hat on, and it became evident that we needed to really improve in our fundamentals in the run game, both offensively and defensively, and we have. We've gotten better since the spring, and especially defensively. We've really improved. We were not very good in the spring, and I was very concerned, and I thought we improved tremendously in how we can play the run defensively since the spring. I was concerned at our pass rush, and we've improved there as well. And so I think our physicality on defense, especially at the secondary position, is night and day compared to the beginning of the year. One of the biggest stats that made me smile is I asked the defense to put hits on the football, which tracks every player, how many times they hit the ball carrier in a game. And our leader was Dom Jones and at corner, and that just has not happened all year. And so credit to him playing hurt, playing not at 100%. Elias Larry playing hurt, not 100%, but giving his body up in a really important physical border war game. And so those are just examples of the improvement. But, it was over the course of the year, and, you lose a guy like Torrey Horton, it changes you. You can't replace a Torrey Horton. He's not a guy you can replace. And so, It was a gradual just realization of where our strengths were, and we got good backs. We like our backs. We like Justin Marshall and Avery Morrow and Jalen Dupree and Kobe John. Those are good players, and so it goes back. We had a meeting with a good friend of ours, who's a veteran general manager in the National Football League, but he said, if you got red paint, you paint your barn red. I mean, it's just we have good players. We need to use them, whether they run the ball or they throw the ball. You like that one? That's I mean, that's common sense, and so, but yeah. So we're using what we have to help us, and we got to keep figuring out ways to win. That's our job.
And through all those ups and downs this season, where do you feel like you personally, as a coach, grown the most?
Oh, I just think I've worked really hard this off season to look at our team and find out how we can be better. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Last year was gut wrenching to lose and not qualify for a bowl game on the last play of the season. And we had 4 one-score games, and we had 7 one-score games, and we had 4 games that came down to the last play. We're not used to losing those games. I've been a head coach. We're used to winning those kind of games. So that was not a typical way for us to finish a season. And so it was a gut shot, and I really looked hard, and I was determined to do things differently. And we have, we've been willing to change, and we changed the way we practice. We changed, some of our philosophies about how we play games, it's been significant. And I think we're starting to see a lot of those things come together. And I felt they would once we got to conference play. I felt like a lot of the things that we put in place to change how we play would really show up as we got into our conference play. And so, and I think it's been a learning process for coaches and players too. Every Monday I point them out in the stats, and there's a lot of things that go into that. But we got to continue to find ways to win.
Since you said you're a big fan of standalone stats, you know what they mean. Your defense does lead the conference in scoring defense.
Yep.
And the trick behind that is every conference opponent you've faced, you've held below their season average. What have you liked best about your style of defense? Because it's not one thing that stands out. You have games with no sacks, no tackles for loss, no turnovers. You still win those and play well. What is your defense really doing well?
I think 2 things. We're managing the run game, and we're limiting explosive plays. And we were really good on third down this last game defensively too. Those things get you off the field, and and I think I also got to throw in. I got a big credit to our defense is our offensive line. Our offensive line, when we're on the field, they can't score. And so, this last game we were on the field for 35 minutes, and they were on for almost 25. That's 10 minutes that they're not on the field. You got to, I don't think our offensive line is getting near the credit they deserve for the type of season we're having. They are playing outstanding, and we're running the ball effectively. We're running over 5 yards an attempt. That's pretty good. And when you can do that, it helps your defense. And so, and we're mindful of that as we go through the game. And so I think those things, we're playing competitive run defense. We're not giving up explosive plays, and getting off the field on third down. Those are the keys to what we're doing on defense right now.
You did say a little bit early on in the year, you changed your offensive style a little bit to help protect your defense. That time of possession, obviously, you bring up helps. But are there also times your defense playing so well it's protecting your offense at times?
Oh, yeah. It absolutely is. And I think when you have a good team, that's what you do. You have, offense, defense, special teams, and they all at times, like we've been playing really well on special teams. Well, this last game we didn't. And so, you have to be able to cover for areas of the game where you don't play as well. And this was a great example. I thought we played very well on offense and defense in this last game. We didn't play as well on special teams. The weeks before that, we played outstanding on special teams, and it kind of covered for the other areas that we were deficient in. So I think that's what good teams do. They play off each other, and when one part of your game isn't as good, other parts step up.
Chase said after the game that it was fitting that Dane got to the boot first. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think we had 4 guys that were on the team when we won the boot the last time, and you got to remember that was a COVID year, so there's no fans on the field, and so they were veterans, and I got a kick out of that last play because we were taking a knee, and Dane was the deep receiver, and he didn't even flinch. He just turned around and sprinted for the clock hadn't even been run to 0, and he beat Chase to it. Chase was trying to get there, and Henry were trying to get there too, and he beat him to it. So that was a veteran move by Dane.
How'd you like Lucky Joe's experience?
That's pretty good. We went down to downtown and saluted our fans, and a lot of great traditions with this game, and been looking forward to that with the boot, and a lot of people got smiles on their face Saturday night. We had a little milk out of the boot, so it was good.